That you're joining us this weekend. Some of you I know are here in the congregation, others are watching online. I have with me today seniors from the Algona area. These are members of our church who will be graduating here in a week or two. Week or two, guys? Is that what it is? It's coming up here.
9 days.
And so we're going to meet them a little bit more later on in service, but for right now, we are glad that you're here. Welcome home. Summer is now officially here.
She made my job so much easier this last week. I said, would you like to sing? And she's like, sure. So I love those answers. Keep them coming. The next one is we had anybody who wanted to be on our tech team to let us know. And Owen Orban said he would like to learn it. So I don't know if I'm going to embarrass him. Announce, looks to have a bonfire for those middle fire right here outside, of course. And bring your friends. Verses 1 through 17. In the days when the judges ruled in Israel, a severe famine came upon the land. Judah left his home and went to live in the country of Moab, taking his wife and 2 sons with him. The man's name was Elimelech, and his wife was Naomi, Mahlon, and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem in the land of Judah, and married women. One married a woman named Ruth. But about 10 years later, both sons that the Lord had blessed his people in Judah by giving them good crops again. So Naomi and her got ready to leave Moab and return to her homeland. With her 2 daughters-in-law, she set out from the place where they had been living, and they took the road that would lead them back to your husbands and to me. May the Lord bless you with the security of another marriage. Then she kissed them goodbye, and they all broke down and wept. And even if it were possible, and I were to get married tonight and bear sons, then what? Would you wait for them to grow up and refuse to leave you and turn my back? Wherever you go, I would. Wherever you die, I will die, and I will be buried.
It's cool. Okay, all right. So maybe what I shouldn't try to do is hasten on summer with this kind of clothing. I don't know, but I'm freezing this morning. I'm going to take an anticipated detour. So as you can see, the sermon series is called Mesh with Quilts. It was so cool. And then I found this, which was, you know what this is? And then it's Mother's Day. It's Mother's Day. My mom Della. Graham's, she raised me. Along with Mom, along with a bunch of other people, but we spent lots and lots of time at her house. She taught me more things. I was 3, can't remember how young. I wore a suit. But, it just reminded me of the power of the women in my life, and especially that woman. And so now Mom and Grandma, Graham's dad and I are going to have a burger. And let me, just like it is for others, and let's just be honest here, it's a source of pain, a good bit of source of pain. I remember one of my parishes from another life back 30 years ago now, and they had this tradition. They would hand out flowers to all the mothers. They would do this during the worship service. Mom, starting with the oldest mom and working down to the youngest mom, would receive a flower. And then at the very end, this was like 1990s reveal party. Okay, very excited, right? Flower, because you're incapable of having children. Imagine sitting there, you just recently lost your mom, who was probably your best friend, and instead of her getting that flower, or you getting it on her behalf, you're left with the pain of realizing we can't do this anymore. Imagine sitting there and knowing that you're estranged from your mom. I mention this, I don't mean to be a downer here, but I mention this because for years, literally till I came here, I'd never talked about Mother's Day from pulpit. From pulpit. And so I started talking about it again, or for the first time actually. And you know, Anna Jarvis, a woman that started Mother's Day back in 1908, she well. And so the tradition of handing out flowers goes back to 1908, when Anna 1908, she well. And so the tradition of handing out flowers goes back to 1908, when Anna Jarvis did this in her home parish in Grafton, West Virginia, not just to the moms, but to every man, woman, and child that was in attendance. And it was a way of saying, God has you in your lives. And so this morning, guys, I'm sorry you didn't get a flower. You should have. But the women and the girls all got flowers. If you didn't get a flower, there's a... And I'd like you to think about the women in your lives, the moms in your lives, okay? You know, if you're in a place of joy, we rejoice with you. And if you're in a place of grief, all right, let's sing. As a story of hope and promise and purpose. So it starts out, Naomi is this woman who's married and they leave and they go to a land called Moab. And while they're there, she and her husband and her two sons, another hardship, and her two sons get married. Married to Orpah and the other married to Ruth. And destitute. In a time when if you were not in some way, shape, or form attached to a man or a male figure, you were consigned to poverty for the rest of your life. And when you die, your family dies. And when you die, your family dies with you. Faced with. And so Naomi realizes that really the only way she can eke out a living is to go back to Bethlehem, afraid she might starve, because that's how bad it was for her in that time. I can't take care of you. I can't feed you. And there is no hope of you having a child as one of my heirs. Moab, pick up with your families. Maybe say he'll take care of you. And maybe you'll find someone to marry so that you can fulfill what you're supposed to do. May the Lord punish me severely if I allow anything but death to separate us. That's Ruth talking to Naomi. She follows the harvest workers behind, and whatever falls on the ground, then she picks it up and she takes it home and they eat it. And as it happens, relative to Naomi, a guy by the name of Boaz. And Boaz shows her kindness. And I'm going through the story quickly. Go read. All right? And so eventually then, by hook and by crook, and by a little bit of manipulating with Naomi, and then Ruth has a son whose name is Obed, and Jesse, David, the greatest king Israel has ever known. Now think about this. Ruth went nothing but a life of to Israel's greatest promise in King David, who, by the way, it does because over time, eventually, down through the centuries, one of David's descendants will become. Now, really interesting part. God is mentioned by the play, and God takes them and he uses them for his benefit and for his good purpose. That's a story of hardship. It starts with you, maybe, as a story of hardship.
I may be consecrated, Lord, to thee. Take my moments and my days, let them flow and seize this space. Take my silver and my gold, none of my old. Take my intellect and use every prize thou shalt choose.
So you're wondering where I'm going with this, aren't you? Dolly, oh my, she is smart and she's witty. She plays the dumb. The list of her accomplishments are as long as my arm. It's just crazy. But the one thing that's not on her resume is mom for her. She got married in 1966 to a man by the name of Carl Dean, whom you probably have never seen because Dolly keeps him pretty well hidden. And I think he likes it that way. And from the very beginning, they just kind of knew they were going to have a family. But it never happened. Tried. He had a family to raise. All right? See where this is going? It brought to her, obviously, lots of celebrity, but it also brought to her a pile of wealth. God's blessed her with. And that it's not something she could keep for herself. It became an opportunity for charity. She believes the old saying amongst Christians, to whom much is given, much is expected. And so she looked for ways that she could help, first of all, just her community, the place where she grew up. She grew up in a poor area of, in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. And there was lots of poverty. She grew up in poverty, lots of illiteracy. Called the Imagination Library. And it started just with that county in Tennessee where she came from. And so every child who was born in that county, from the time they were born until the time they were 5 years old and entering school, they would receive a book, imagine what they could be, what they could do, and she wanted them to learn to read. Well, it didn't stop with her county. It's now, and you know, God used her. She thought God was going to use her by having a family. It didn't work out that way. Of lives of people that she will never meet. Sounds a little bit like Ruth and Naomi, doesn't it? And you know, it isn't God that's coming in lightning bolts and the everyday. And it was my great aunt Leva who, by default, became the Grinberg matriarch in Sioux City. And then when she passed away, Aunt Pat, it wasn't just family. It was Aunt Arista, who didn't have children of her own, but considered the Morningside Lutheran Sunday School her children. She was the superintendent. Those of you that are women, or you can't, And it doesn't matter. God will use whatever it is that you have, even especially if it's hardship. He won't put it there for you, but he'll use it. He'll use it to change and shape you. Peace and his hands of love to touch and shape people that you meet every day, and probably even people that you will, simply because you're here, simply because you are faithful, simply because you are kind, and simply because you care about others the way God cares about you. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. I hope it's a good one for you as we reach out into the world with the love of Jesus.
Take my life that I may be consecrated, Lord, to thee. Take my moments, let them flow in ceaseless praise. Take my voice and let me sing, always only for my King. Consecrated, Lord, to thee. Take my moments and my days, let them flow in ceaseless praise. Take my will and thine, it shall no longer mine. Take my heart, it is thy own, it shall be thy royal throne. Take my life that I may be consecrated, Lord, to thee. Take my moment.
To whom much is given, tell the world about the love that you have in heaven. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For fellowship time. And if you can't, we hope that you enjoy your day today. And we hope that you return back with us on Wednesday and on Sunday to join us again for worship.